Hello everyone, welcome to another course at 3IM. And in this course, I'll be talking about the Azure Essentials or Azure Fundamentals that would be needed for the upcoming data and AI courses on Azure. I have a course on AWS also. I have created an AWS Essentials course that would be beneficial for AWS data and AI courses. But this course, Azure Essentials, would be a prerequisite for the upcoming data courses on Azure and AI courses on Azure. So let me give you a very high level introduction. We'll be talking about only the essential services that is needed to work on Azure Data Engineering, Azure AI, and it can be extended to Azure Application and DevOps also. But it is mostly about Azure Data Engineering and Azure AI. The products or services that I'm going to talk about would be definitely needed when we cover data engineering and AI or GenAI based courses. And these are the courses this will be beneficial for. I'll be creating a certification course for Microsoft Fabric. I'll also create two certification courses for Azure AI Associate and Azure AI Architect Professional Certifications, which is in beta right now as of this recording. So please go through this course before you start Microsoft Fabric certification course or AI certification courses. Now let's dig into Azure itself. First, I'll start with Azure fundamentals. What is Azure and what are the basic components of Azure to start with? Azure is, of course, it's a cloud service provider by Microsoft, and it is also known as Microsoft Azure rather than Azure. I don't think I'll have to tell you anything about cloud services. It is very much prevalent nowadays. And if you have come to this course, you would already know what is meant by cloud, right? So let's talk about the fundamental constructs of Azure or the way we start with Azure. And the first one is regions. Regions in Azure is nothing but geographical location, just like regions in AWS. If you talk about any cloud service provider, all of them have the basic construct called regions, and this region is nothing but a geographical location. And under regions we have availability zones, which are data centers in regions. A single region can contain at least two or more data centers, which are known as availability zones or zones in Azure. So let's say this is a region which is central India, and here we'll be having multiple zones or availability zones. So let's say zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. And the resources are created inside of these zones because these are data centers in those regions. So let's say create VM or multiple VMs in zone 1 and SQL database. You can create other resources in other zones also. VNet is something that spans the entire region, but apart from that, all the other resources are created in one or more zones. So this is the basic construct of Azure. This is how it starts with. But to work with Azure, we'll have to create an Azure account. And that is the first step that you have to do. And after the Azure account is created, let us go ahead and explore the Azure portal. To create Azure, you make sure you type Azure create account or create free account. So you can use this create your Azure free account or pay as you go. And from this particular console, you can try Azure for free, and rest of the process would be very intuitive and pretty simple to create an Azure account. Once you create the Azure account, you will get a credit of $2,000. This is the landing page of the Azure portal, and it tells you how many days are left to use the free trial. I created this account only yesterday and I have approximately 17,640 rupees left, or a little less than $200. Now, once you create your Azure account, then we go ahead and work with various Azure services. Now, see, there are various options here. We have a setting here. This is a general setting like directories and subscriptions. We'll talk about these things later on. Then we have appearance. Then you have language and region. The regional format is English United Kingdom, but you can change it to English India and then apply the changes. So it is essentially the setting which impacts all the Azure services that we create. Then there is an important tab here which is called Cloud Shell. And what it does, it creates a Unix based environment either using Bash or PowerShell. We'll talk about it later on. But if you want to create a Cloud Shell, if you want to work on an Unix environment, you can click on this particular button and a Cloud Shell would be created. Then here in this 3 menu, there are all the resources that you have. So you can click on all services here, which will tell you all the services that are available in Azure. If you have created resources, you have created, let's say, Azure VM, Azure VNet, etc., you can click on this all resources, and it will tell you all the resources that you have created in your Azure account. It will tell you the name of the resource and then the resource group, etc. So these are the resources that I had created for my personal work. We'll go ahead and create new resources now. And here we have this apps menu also. If you click on this, it'll tell you the most used resources, what are the other resources that are available which are integrated with cloud, like AI Foundry, which is a separate cloud service. Azure is obviously the cloud service. There is Copilot Studio also. This is the GenAI offering from Microsoft. Then there's Data Explorer, Defender, Intra. Intra is the renamed version of Microsoft Active Directory. Then you have Fabric. We'll talk about Fabric in our Fabric course. Then you have Intune, Power Platform, Purview, etc. So these are the other cloud services that are available with Microsoft. So this is how you can use the console. Now, as I said, most of the times you'll be using these 3 lines or burger menu as they call it. And from here you can look at all resources or all services if you have to create a service. We'll be using this all services menu in most of the cases, but this is how the Azure menu looks like.